Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, college football fans, college basketball fans, Blue Jacket fans, all kinds of fans across the nation and around the world. This is Tim May with the Tim May Show, featuring, no, that's not Clay Hall. What's your name, young man?
I am Dillon Davis. I am very much not Clay Hall. I strive to be a Clay Hall.
Yeah.
One day, baby.
I think we all aspire to be a Clay Hall occasionally. Clay's pretty much going to have Fridays off because all kinds of reasons. Even though he's younger than me, he's retired like I am. Although I don't know if I'm retired or not. Would you call? Would you say I'm retired, Dillon?
No, I would not say you're retired. I don't think anybody would confuse you for being a retired man.
Yeah, isn't that funny? Matter of fact, I was out cleaning out one of my storm drains that goes into my pond yesterday, and you would definitely not accuse me of being retired. I had it out with the people I've rented my auger from because it was a 100-foot auger that weighed about 200 pounds or whatever you want to call it, snake. And it didn't have the proper equipment attached to it. And I got real upset about that because it's hard to hand feed a 100-foot long, because they're about that big around snake into something. And it's even harder to put it back into the thing. So, but I did get my drain cleaned out. So
it's funny when you retired, quote unquote retired, the following year, my wife asked, like, didn't he retire? And I'm like, yeah.
She actually asked that?
Yeah, she actually did. And I said, yeah, in theory he did, but he's still everywhere.
Your wife was keeping up with my comings and goings and whereabouts.
Big Tim May fan. So
wow, that's really, I did not know that until this very moment. I've played golf 150 times.
Yeah.
And you've never brought that up. I think the reason you've never brought it up is you're always looking for my ball. So
I don't have time to talk because I'm trying to find out where that team is.
Exactly. Yeah. I need to get one of those balls that flashes, man. Flashes.
Oh yeah.
When it's lost.
Beacon on that bad boy.
By the way, we played last Saturday and had a great time, and in between, all hell broke loose.
Very good. Yeah.
And then we're playing again on Monday, right?
Yeah, sir. That's the plan. I hope so. Right before spring practice starts, get a last round of golf in.
What a crappy winter. By the way, we're going to talk about Ohio State football, Ohio State basketball, even the Columbus Blue Jackets a little bit, only because you're kind of an expert on almost everything, working for the Delaware Gazette. You do a hell of a job.
I appreciate it.
Dillon Davis of Delaware, as I like to say, the three Ds. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's this strange winter because, my good buddy, Paul Moose Spahn, has had a little bit of a physical thing he's been dealing with, and hopefully a medical thing, and hopefully things are straightened out now for him, but we'll see. But you've kind of become my golfing partner by default and have enjoyed it. But dude, by this time last year, even you and I think we'd already played like 15 times.
More than a few, for sure.
I mean, that January and February just were awful.
Yeah, temperature-wise, there were the days. It's just, that snow took forever to melt. Obviously, more rain on top of that. But temperature-wise, there were a few days. Well, we played in January. We got out in January.
One time.
Yeah. But there were days in February we could have played. It's just with all that precipitation, all that snow melt, and it was just swamped out there.
And then the first time we played in February was at least I played with you, was the other day.
Yeah, exactly.
Like a week ago. Yeah. And had a good time at Glen Ross.
At Glen Ross up in Delaware. So
yeah.
My stomping grounds.
Yeah. But anyway, boy, if I could just putt, man. But we were putting on greens that haven't been improved or anything since the winter.
Terrible. You couldn't take anything away from
so that's my excuse for that.
That's usually how I come away from a round. If I could just done this better.
Yeah.
I could just done that better.
Oh, yeah.
I might have scored better.
That's why golf is a 4-letter word, ladies and gentlemen. But we digress. Let's get into some specific thing. I think most people that watch this show know I've been covering Ohio State football some form or fashion since 1984. So that's my expertise. I dabble in Ohio State men's basketball and women's basketball. And then when the Blue Jackets are going well, I dabble in that. Sure. Dude, the Blue Jackets,
they're rolling.
Before we move on.
They're rolling.
They're rolling. Didn't look like it coming out of the break, the Olympic break. They lost 2 in a row. Now they've won 3 in a row.
Yeah, just made a big trade last night as well.
Bingo.
In the wee hours.
Yeah, so I don't know. Are they in it to win it? What's your take? I don't mean Stanley Cup, but I mean, what's your take?
I think without a doubt, anybody who knows me knows I'm a big Boston sports fan, so I'm a big Boston Bruins fan. The Bruins currently in that last.
Well, by the way, why is that?
Just grew up being
Why? Nice. But you grew up in where?
Huh? I'm from Ohio. Yeah. I'm from Ohio. So my dad's from Ohio, so he got me in. Being a Buckeye fan, born and raised, and then being a Browns fan as well. So
yeah. So B and B, those two teams start Buckeye Browns.
Yeah.
but then you went on deeper into that to Boston.
Grew up, going, to Red Sox games. And so, just something that was part of my livelihood. Admittedly, I wasn't a hockey fan growing up. I became a hockey fan later on in life. Have been a hocky fan for a while now, but didn't grow up as a hockey fan. But my dad was always a big Celtics fan as well. Big Larry Bird fan, which you get a lot of that around here. So I grew up with that as well. So,
well, I like Larry Bird too, but I didn't care about the Celtics one way or the other. I mean,
sure.
I got to watch the Celtics way back when I think Cousy, occasionally on television or replay, when Cousy and Bill Russell and stuff were playing. So, but I did like Bill Russell a lot.
Well, Hondo, obviously.
Hondo. Well, I grew up in Alabama and Texas. So,
well, right. So I know Boston's just always Mass in general has always been like a big part of my life. So
I didn't run. But did y'all live in Boston?
I never have. No.
Well, I'm still lost. Why Boston? Why did you fixate on Boston? Why wasn't it Dallas Cowboys or Chicago Bears or Pittsburgh Steelers? Why Boston? Because you like their colors?
Just the place I spent, we were there a lot.
Well, why were y'all there a lot?
For sports, like to go watch, Celtics, Red Sox games.
No, I'm saying, did you grow up there?
No. Well, kind of.
Well, you're acting like you went to all these games there.
We would go to Boston. Like we would spend a lot of time going like to Fenway and things like that. So
from here, from Ohio.
Nope.
Okay, I'm lost. Was the New York Thruway done by then? Did y'all remember you took the New York Thruway? Because all my in-laws live in the Boston, Connecticut area. No, I was married at Martha Mary Chapel there in Sudbury.
When the Big Dig happened in Boston, I'm not sure how familiar you are with that.
Oh yeah,
but I remember kind of like roughly, like I was really young, but like I remember kind of that happening and then going back and it being a vastly different place. But
it's interesting they called it the Big Dig because a lot of people believe that it was the Big Dig and that billions of dollars are buried underneath it from the Big Dig budget. But no, I've been back and forth there a million times, but I didn't realize until this very moment that you cared that much about Boston and went to those links, pardon the pun, to go see games.
It was it's where I proposed to my wife at in Fanpier Park.
Is your wife from Boston?
No, she's from Ohio as well. She went to Ohio State as well. But,
ladies and gentlemen, we're not talking about going up the road to a Cleveland Browns game or a Cincinnati Reds game or Indianapolis Colts game or Indiana Pacers. We're talking 750 miles of, and that's hard to do deadhead. Because we did it many times. Like I said, my in-laws are from
12, it's 11 hours.
Framingham, Massachusetts. Yeah. No, well, actually from Ashland, Massachusetts, kind of halfway between Hopkinton, where the Boston Marathon starts, and Framingham. But wow, that's crazy.
Talking to somebody from Haverhill, which is
you're just name dropping out the rear end.
I was talking to somebody from Haverhill the other night. So.
And you grew up in Ohio, but everybody's got their strange things about them.
It's just something that
my strange thing is I actually am in real life. I'm handsome.
In real life, even more so in real life too. So I'm not sure how it comes across on the screen, but in real life,
I'm wearing a cap today because I'm having a bad hair day.
Where's your country club? Speaking of Boston, where's your country club U.S. Open hat at?
Yeah, well, I've been a volunteer at the U.S. Open the last 4 years.
Did you do the country club one?
But I did the country club as the first time in 2022 when they basically came back from COVID, made it open. The open was open. And enjoyed the hell because I worked the scoreboards in that U.S. Open because they wanted that Boston, that Fenway Park field of things. And the last three I've been to, they haven't had scoreboards. They've had electronic, except for the one big one in the middle of the course. And so I've worked merchandise, which, by the way, I thought merchandise, totally enjoy it. Totally enjoy it. It's funny how many people come through a U.S. Open and they recognize me.
I'm sure.
Or, you know what I mean? No, what do you mean you're sure? But I mean, it's stunning how many Ohio State fans.
No, that's what I mean. People
are well-to-do.
This Open.
Go to the U.S. Open. So, totally enjoy it.
And don't kid yourself. When I go somewhere with you, I know it's local still, but there's not a place that we go to, whether we're playing golf or whatever, somebody doesn't recognize Tim May, whether it's your voice, your looks, or a combination of the both.
Wouldn't it be great if we got deep discounts because of that?
I wish so. It's time to start capitalizing on
this. Is my friend Dillon. He's a big Boston fan for some dumbass reason.
Yeah, I've heard that a time or two. Going back, to bring this back to the Jackets, though.
Yeah.
Being a big Boston Bruins fan, the Bruins are in the last wild card spot right now, and the Jackets are right on their tails. I don't think the Bruins are a very good. I mean, good is relative. I don't think they're a playoff team. The deadline is today. The trade deadline is today. I would actually like to see the Bruins maybe, part with some pieces and get some assets back, because I don't think it's a time to go all in. So with that being said, like, the Jackets made a move last night for Connor Garland, to improve, their roster. So like they're making a push for it. So I would be surprised if the Jackets didn't run down the Bruins and hold them off. Fun note: the Bruins play twice in Columbus. Once at the end of March and once in early April. I'll be at both of those naturally, of course.
Yeah.
But so
you know what's going on right now in 1776. The big cry in the Boston area was the Redcoats are coming. Now the big cry is in 2026 the Blue Jackets are. Let me don't step on my line.
I'm sorry.
The big cry now is the Blue Jackets are coming. The Blue Jackets are coming. One if by land, two if by sea. So there you go.
Yeah, we'll see. The Jackets, they're charging hard, and I'd be surprised if they didn't ultimately run the Bruins down, which says as much about the Bruins and my faith in them as it does about the Jackets. But, I digress.
Of the listeners who tuned in to start this show, how many do you think are still listening?
I'd be hard pressed to say that there are too many left to care about my ties to Boston and why I'm a big Boston.
But I was just curious about how a guy who grew up in Ohio. Not just became a Boston Bruins fan and a Boston Red Sox fan and Celtics fan and I guess New England fan, right? Yeah.
No, I'm not a Pats fan, no, because my dad, being an Ohio guy, he grew up a Buckeye and a Browns fan, so those were the two things that he had to make sure
taboo.
Yeah,
those were taboo.
Football's king in my family, always has been. And so those were the things I didn't have. There was no choice on that. I was going to be a Buckeye and a Browns fan. Being raised.
They were the Boston Patriots a long time ago before they changed their name to New England.
Well, and then they had the Boston Braves there. I also played
yes.
But real quick, just one more thing.
Guy named Babe Ruth.
Right. My first trip to Fenway was actually for a Yankee game. And so I grew up I grew up to going to Buckeye games. And we had season tickets to Buckeye games every year. So
your family, you're from money.
No,
is what I'm putting together here.
We just
y'all took the private jet to Boston.
We weren't
when you were a kid.
We weren't poor, but we had experiences. We spent money on experiences. We lived within our means. We weren't poor, but we weren't rich either, and we spent money on experiences. And to this day, if I died tomorrow and I reflected on my life, some of these memories with my dad and going to the best memories of my life. But going to Buckeye games and being very well ingrained in the Ohio State Michigan rivalry, the Red Sox Yankee rivalry, my first experience in Fenway, in a Yankee game, felt so familiar to me because the hatred in that park, that night was so familiar to me because I was, I knew what the Ohio State Michigan rivalry was all about, and I saw it firsthand from a very young. So that spoke to me as well. So, being a Red Sox fan very early was, that was a no brainer.
Yeah. By the way, I've been by Fenway Park probably 50, 60, 70 times. Like I said, I got married in Massachusetts. My wife's family's from there, and never been to Fenway Park for a game. I feel kind of bad about that. But I tell you what, I felt bad the fact that I'd only been to one Cubs game in my life until Ohio State played there 2 years ago when they played Northwestern. And that was about 35, 40 years ago when I went to a Cubs game for the one and only time. I wasn't that impressed with the Wrigley Field then. And even I went up into the top area when we got to be there and tour the stadium, before the Northwestern game a year ago. And man, there are places that are in disrepair in that stadium. A couple of seats where you go, and then there are all kinds of seats throughout it behind beams. Or, I'm just going, what? Except for the fact that this place has been here since 1919 or something like that. 1913.
Fenway opened in 1912, and I think
12.
Wrigley was 6 years, so I think 18 or something.
Yeah.
Like that, so.
But anyway, I'm just going. Except for that, I'm just going. You sit in the upper deck. I mean, what's the great thing about that? Except you can tell everybody you went to Wrigley Field, and they don't even take the time to get the ivy off the walls.
Right, yeah.
You know what I mean? They just hey, that looks good. Let's just leave it.
I took my first trip to Wrigley 3 years ago to see a game. Anyways, 3 years ago, the Sox were playing. My wife had never been to Wrigley, so we went and did that. And I tell you what, the area around Wrigley Field, like Wrigleyville, is really cool. I love it.
Yeah, but it didn't used to be.
Yeah, no, well, that's very true as well. But the park itself, it's fine, like you said. The fact that it's been there,
it's kind of cool. It's sitting right there.
I could take it or leave it.
Lincoln Park's right there,
right?
Yeah,
I'm biased, obviously, but comparing Wrigley to Fenway and the character of Fenway, I just don't think they're in the same league. I am biased, but I know I'm not the only one who feels that way.
That's funny. You said that they're not in the same league.
Yeah, well, they really aren't. Yeah, that was a pun not intended. So.
No, it was a pun intended.
Yeah.
But yeah. But yeah, the bottom line is it's really funny though, because I just was talking to somebody the other day who's a big Bears fan, and this idea they may be building a stadium in Hammond, Indiana.
Yeah.
Just think about the Cubs. If they came out with an announcement, we're moving to Joliet.
Yeah.
Just right down take a train to it, whatever. The Cub, what would that do to Cub fandom?
I mean, that's still not even as crazy as moving to wherever they are going in Indiana.
Yeah.
That would still just cause.
You can take a train there though.
Yeah.
We've all seen it as we take the Skyway into Chicago from Indiana.
Yeah, that would just cause.
But I mean,
seismic,
just think about that. There would be no Cub fandom. Yeah. They'd go, we're not. This is quaint. This is our little ballpark.
Right.
It may stink, but it's our stinky little ballpark. You know what I mean?
I've never been to Soldier Field, so I don't know how much of a dump it is. I don't understand like the need to get out of it.
The thing about Soldier Field is, it's where they played that college football all-star game.
Yeah.
For many, many years. You can watch replays of that, by the way, on YouTube. Somebody has put up full games. Oh, really? It's just kind of cool because I watched every one of them. I could barely contain myself until the first football game of the year. And that used to be the first football game of the year because I love football. I go into a funk.
So they would do an all-star game before?
Yeah, they would do it. It would be all the college all-stars. I think Archie even played in it. Archie Grip. But and then all of a sudden they had a big thunderstorm one night, and they were thinking all these NFL teams had become very concerned about their draft picks playing the last year's champion from the NFL had become concerned about injuries and stuff before camp opened, that the thunderstorm, it was a gully washer like we had the other night at my house. And
hence the auger.
They basically canceled the game in the middle of it, and that was it. That was the end of it. But it was put on by, I think, Chicago Tribune, I think sponsored it, one of the newspapers up there and stuff. But yeah, they used to play the All-Stars from the previous college football season who had, back then you went 4 years.
Well, yeah.
And then you went to the NFL and you didn't transfer portal usually. Or
no.
But yeah, it went to the wayside. But the thing about it is it was this humongous stadium.
Yeah.
And so humongous that, the Bears didn't play there until, I'm not sure when they actually moved to, you've seen it. You've seen where the stadium is.
Yeah.
But because it was too big, they played at Wrigley Field.
Did they? I didn't know.
Oh, yeah. Gale Sayers played his whole NFL career at Wrigley Field. I think Dick Buckeyes did too.
Did they build the stadium just for this All-Star game?
No. It was built back in the 20s or 30s, a huge place. I'm not even sure who played there regularly. They had a track around it, and everything, like Ohio Stadium used to have. And but the thing about it is when they refurbished it, see the outside of it with those columns and everything.
Yeah,
it's cool looking.
It looks really cool. Yeah, I mean, driving by it heading into Chicago, I always think it looks, it's really cool.
But then when they did a redo, it's like they built this stadium. Have you ever seen one of those ship launchings where they build it in the dry dock and then they shove it down the thing and it goes in the water? That looks like what they did, except they built a stadium. Looked like they built a stadium somewhere else, brought it by helicopter and dropped it in. Dropped it in. And for a lot of people, it's never looked right. But I think when you're in the stadium, I've heard it's a decent. I've never been to a game there.
No,
but I've heard it's a decent seat. I mean, decent view, et cetera. So, but everybody wants the latest, greatest, man. Wants the modern thing. So that's where you got to give it up to Jerry Jones. He's not real great about building football teams after Jimmy Johnson left.
Sure, yeah.
But man, they built a hell of a stadium.
Oh, absolutely.
AT&T. Yeah. I told him to his face about 4 or 5 years ago. I said, man, you built the thing that everybody since then has been trying to replicate or make better. Right. And they haven't really met it, in my opinion. Dude, you could run, if you moved everything out of the way, you've been underneath there many times. now covering Ohio State.
Sure, yeah.
You could have an auto race in the hallway underneath it and stuff if you could get everything out of the way. But yeah, it's crazy that you want to move a stadium. I remember talking with Andy Geiger back in the mid 90s. He's the athletic director here back in the 90s, and when they had to do something because Ohio Stadium was starting to crumble, and there were two choices really: refurbish, improve, bring up the code in most places, what they had, or build another stadium.
Yeah.
And they've got that lot, there at the corner of Kinney Road and Lane Avenue, the northwest corner. That's a cow pasture, really. They've got other things going on there, but it's huge lot. And he said, what you don't really understand is the footprint of Ohio Stadium, just how huge it really is, number one. But number two, he goes, and this was in 1997 when I did this story, before they started refurbishing in 99, I think it was, when they dropped the field, and added to the upper decks and stuff, and put the suites in. Anyway,
got rid of the track.
Yeah, but he said to duplicate just what we've got now would be $250 to $300 million. Now that was like in 95, 97.
Sure.
It would
what that would cost 25 years later.
It'd be well over $1 billion. You've seen what it's cost for Northwestern to build a stadium half that size now, a dome stadium. Yeah, but here's the thing about that, which gets me about, you've been to games there at Northwestern. That's in a neighborhood.
Yeah, Ryan Field. Yeah.
There's a little bit of parking right there, but now one of the reasons I think they're putting in that covered stadium, that dome stadium, for one of another term, is so they can have other events.
Yeah.
Like in the winter
That's
stuff.
what everybody's trying to do with these covered.
Well, what they're not addressing is there's no parking.
Yeah. It's awful.
Yeah.
Awful.
It's awful. And you can take the red line, I think, and
you have to take the train.
Get off up the block.
You don't stay in Evanston and park
right.
there,
so it's going to be a great venue, but it's going to be interesting. Like my daughter, she's like 30 now or whatever, but she still goes to like these different concerts and stuff around the country.
Okay.
And because I remember we went to Rosemont Horizon. I forgot what it's called now. She's really big in the K-pop.
Really? Okay.
Which is interesting.
I've never dabbled. I can't say.
Well, the shows are very entertaining, I guess.
Oh, I'm sure.
I've watched some online, but I haven't been to one. But anyway, but the thing about the Rosemont Horizon, for example, where she went right there next to O'Hare Airport, is parking goes to the freaking Horizon.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Pardon the expression, Rosemont Horizon.
Rosemont's where they used to have the Big Ten Media Days, is that right?
Yeah. Matter of fact, they hosted. No. You're talking about for basketball?
Yes, for basketball.
Yeah. For football, it was always downtown Chicago, which was a great trip.
Yeah. I wish they would still do that.
I don't know why we got off.
It's so stupid.
Yeah. I didn't mean to get off on all that. How many people have now tuned out?
If there's anybody left, man, they really love this show. They love 10 May because
but it is interesting the way venues have changed and everybody's desire to have the latest, greatest. When in fact, if you put winners on the field or in the arena, people like my great example is Cameron Indoor Stadium.
Yeah, exactly. That place is
It gets why it's packed, because they win
exactly,
and people show up.
Paul Gallen's the same way.
I had that conversation. Who did I have that conversation with the other day? Was it? It was JJ Sullinger was sitting here.
Yeah, I saw right over there. Here. I saw you.
Yeah, I had a great conversation. Everybody talks about the shot has no atmosphere, or whatever. I go, well, let me tell you something. If you're winning games, and they get 19,000 in there, it's pretty damn cool.
Exactly. Even on last past Sunday, that Purdue win, like, I don't know what people consider atmosphere, but that place was loud at times in there. It was a really good atmosphere at times for that game. Had a marquee opponent in there. Ohio State was playing well. They needed the win. There was a really good atmosphere. I went to games during the Odin Conley year, and there were some just awesome, like you said, you get 18, 19,000 people in there. Place is going to be really loud because it's like an NBA arena, the right NBA arena. If you Celtics games, obviously being a Celtics fan like that, place is a legitimate home court advantage.
Oh,
you get 17, 18,000 people in there and it's loud. That's what the shot can be if everything's right. But like as you said, well, you got to win though, because people have to care about the winning and the product.
There are all kinds of reasons you want to win. One is you want to win.
Yeah.
And number two, you want to justify your existence.
Right.
Because why spend that much money on something if you're not winning?
Right.
And number three, winning puts fannies in seats.
Yep.
And that's where you really make your money.
Yeah.
You saw that rundown of, that I forgot who published that the other day, of like the amount of money generated by Ohio State, which was far and away more than anybody else in the Big Ten from
I
like a
didn't see
year and a
that.
half ago or something. Yeah, and Michigan was right there too. But one of the main reasons was their football, fannies and seats.
Yeah.
The amount of money generated just from ticket revenue
Right.
is crazy. Penn State, I think, was third, but a little farther down you'd think. But one of the reasons is, they don't get anybody for basketball games over there because it's one thing you can't do about Penn State, even though you've got a freeway that goes there now, Interstate 99, it's still in the middle of freaking nowhere.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they get people in that arena for wrestling, matches. They sell that place out for wrestling matches.
Well, that's because they're winning.
Yeah, exactly.
Number one. Number two, it's hard to have a walk-up crowd unless they're really passionate about something in a place like State College, as opposed to here, 2.2 million metro area.
Exactly.
You should be able to generate if you get a buzz going, there's a line out the door.
Yeah.
You don't get a buzz going, nobody's there. But there's no waiting in the restroom. So there's the plus.
There are always
pluses and minuses.
Yeah, always some good things.
Anyway, speaking of pluses and minuses, as Ryan Day said to us the other night, that was a cool opportunity we got to go see on Thursday night of this week of all the Ohio State football coaches, some assistants to the assistants. Mark Pantoni was there.
Yep.
Mick Marotti was there. It was a get together, was basically off the record conversation, get to know guys. I talked to Ryan for a long time. There's no denying. I mean, anybody knows me knows how much I really like Ryan Day. I think he's just a genuine dude.
Without a question. I talked to
but anyway, but what I'm getting to, yes, we'll almost set you up here in a second. But as he said to us, and this would be public for public knowledge. Although I told him we were standing there, I said, it was so loud in this little room. I think people out on Olentangy River Road could hear us.
People are yelling, just trying to get a word in.
Yeah. So off the record, I'm not sure, but as he said, there's going to be 51. I think he said 51 new players.
New players, yeah.
So when spring starts, do this half your roster basically.
Yeah, exactly.
And so the new times have really hit Ohio State in a big time way in terms of transfer portal recruiting, because a little over half of that's from recruiting. The other part is from transfer portal, and that's stunning. Like I've been joking, they're gonna have numbers on the front and back of their jerseys.
Right, yeah.
So even the coaches will know who they're talking to.
When you walk through the door first day of spring practice, you get that roster, right?
Yeah.
And generally, I've never really referenced it because I have a pretty good feel for
maybe me too.
A few number changes,
but then they make their number like Brandon Ennis. It took me forever to realize he was a number one last year.
So a few number changes, you have to reference the sheet because of number changes. But I have a feeling that I'm going to be looking at that sheet early and often. Come Tuesday for all the new faces that are there.
I developed a technique of folding it in half so that you have just the numbers show up.
That's a savvy move. Somebody taught me that very early on.
It might have been me.
Might have been.
I kept saying, who's that kid from Delaware? Delaware Gazette over there who's a big Boston fan.
Sharp. Yeah,
what is up with that? Stuff. What's up with that dude? Is he just nuts?
Yeah. Well, yes.
But anyway, but yeah. So just right off the cuff, I don't have you on here all the time, but I do like having you on.
Yeah.
Who's the number one, other than, don't name Julian Sayin, don't name Austin Sareveld, or you can if it falls into where you want to go. Who's that number one guy you want to eyeball next Tuesday when we get to watch one of the few times?
Well, I would start
one guy. I didn't say you were about to do an Austin Ward on me where he goes down through the roster.
That's tough. Okay, well, one guy going into Tuesday, first practice, who I want to see get eyeballs on him is Legend Bay. Like what I've heard about Legend Bay this offseason.
In other words, his name may not be.
Yeah, it
a misnomer.
It might be prophetic, yeah. But what I've heard about Legend Bay this offseason, and the fact that obviously Bo Jackson and Isaiah West are both going to be out this spring, so there are going to be plenty of opportunities in that running back room. Turbo Rogers as well, but if I had to pick just one, I think Legend Bay has a chance.
You've already named 4 different guys. I said just name one name.
Well, I picked one. I mentioned 4. But Legend Bay, I think he has a chance to
Amen.
Be a playmaker right away for Ohio State and solidify that in the spring. I think people are going to come away from the spring saying, oh, they might have found a dude right away in Legend Bay from what I've heard. So
I think his name's Kyle Parker, the transfer wide receiver from LSU. Yeah. Cortez Hankton came and then Kyle followed him. The new wide receiver coach, who I keep reminding people, dude, he was in the NFL as a player.
Yeah.
He's coached at Georgia, LSU, and other places. but he's coached at Georgia and LSU.
Yeah. I mean,
he knows what it's all
talent.
about. I think that was a hell of a hire by Ryan Day, which, is kind of superseded from a publicity standpoint and everything else, getting Arthur Smith, who I got to talk to last night for a little while. I have problems in those kind of settings, though, when the DIN is so, because I have problem hearing. Everybody can always hear me, but
that's never a problem.
Yeah, that's never been a problem. But another way to do hearing aids, do they just amplify everything?
I have no idea. I have
you understand what I'm saying? Would that just make it worse for me?
It would seem like that would be an awful setting for a hearing aid, because you have to turn that bad boy down because you're just picking up.
I'll bring my CNI dog with me.
There
next
you go.
time.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I have rabbit ears, so I have the exact opposite problem where I'm hearing everything.
But Cortez Hankton, dude, his I don't know why I'm whispering. His resume jumps out at you, much like Brian Hartline's did when he first showed up at Ohio State as like an assistant coach kind of guy, except Cortez Hankton's been coaching for a longer period.
Yeah.
And you're going, well, maybe they're going to be okay. Everybody's all worried about Brian. I mean, we had Brian on this podcast about a month or so ago.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Finally got to have him on my podcast once he left,
Right.
Like I said, I mean, it's maybe it wasn't him. No, I know it wasn't him. He wanted to come on a few times.
Yeah, right.
But I digress. But the bottom line is I'm impressed by him. And I'm saying that because I never got to speak to him last night because I had to leave. I had to do a radio show, the Buckeyes show on 97.1 The Fan. We only did 30 minutes leading into the Blue Jacket game. It was me and Pat Murphy. We had a good time, but I had to leave like with an hour to go. And that, I was really bumped out about that because this little get together came up kind of out of nowhere.
It did. Sure did.
But I really like talking to Arthur Smith, and what he can possibly, gonna bring. Cause man, people, I understand nitpicking is what even we do, but he was a head coach in the National Football League for several years. Yeah. He's been an offensive coordinator many times or several years.
Yeah.
Last with the Pittsburgh Steelers, when anybody can see that franchise needed a freshening up. And although I love Mike Tomlin, so you're never going to hear me speak poorly of them. And by the way, I think the Steelers and the Penguins and the Boston Bruins have the same color scheme, if I'm not mistaken.
So the Penguins actually originally had a blue color scheme. So their black and gold color scheme, that came after the Bruins. They actually played last night, every time, or not last night, a few nights ago. And every time they play, it's a nightmare on TV.
Yes.
So, and it makes me mad every time because the Bruins are the black and gold.
Yeah. But at least the Steelers, the Pirates and the Penguins have the same color scheme.
I've always thought that was really cool for a team to have three teams in your city, same color scheme.
Yeah.
So
what
a concept.
So the average fan can come. But the bottom line is Arthur Smith, the expertise he's bringing is kind of like off the chart. And even when you compare to the last couple of years, Chip Kelly came in, fixed the running game. Yep. Everybody go, well, he had, I'm impersonating what people sound like when they say, well, he had Travion Harrison and Quinshon Judkins. I go, yeah. But you know what? Did you watch their run game the year before that?
Exactly.
Now, Quinshon Judkins was at Ole Miss before that. Travion was banged up and everything. Imagine if Travion had played against Georgia, for example, or Jackson Smith and Jigba had gotten to play against Georgia.
Right.
Back in that game. Wow. We might still be talking about that today. 2 straight national championships, possibly.
In that 2023 year as well, like the run game was a problem.
Excuse me, 2 out of 3. 2 out of 3 national.
The run game was a problem all year. In 2023, but Travion was banged up all throughout that.
Correct.
Year. I rember he came back for the.
You never know when it's going to all come together for you as a football team,
right.
And it definitely did in 2024, without a doubt. But my point is, this is a guy who's prepared for almost any kind of defense you can see, because the pros play, they play multiples on top of multiples when it comes to defense, trying to mess with the quarterback's mind and everybody else involved. So I really like what he's bringing to the table at the right time for example, for a Julian Sayin.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think a lot of people, the people that took issue with the hire, didn't like the fact that Arthur Smith probably fits what Ryan Day just did with the offense last year. And a lot of people took issue with what the offense was last year, certainly at the end of the year with the tight end heavy packages and things like that. So I think if people didn't like the Arthur Smith hire, they didn't like it because it was too much in line with what they didn't want to see anymore. Now that doesn't,
but you take what you got.
Yeah. Well, and it doesn't mean that they're pigeonholed into being that again this year.
No, they're not.
And surely Ryan Day learned some lessons. They're still going to, want to have 2-3 tight ends.
Let me tell you something. When you have you've heard me speak of this before, when you have the problems they had, especially on the right side of the offensive line in the bigger games,
sure. Well,
from a consistency standpoint, especially right guard, you play 2 and 3 tight ends.
You have to,
because you still want to try to run the football.
Right. Well, you also need guys to help in protection as well. So
that's one exactly right. And Indiana saw it and attacked it. Miami attacked it like it was a crack in the Hoover Dam. You know what I mean? And so that's what they've got to get, fixed day one. Job one is who lines up at right guard that first day in practice. Dovetailing back to what we were talking about, one guy you want to see, one position you want to see. I'm very curious about what the offensive line is going to look like when they take the field. Is Gabe Van Sickle going to be at right guard? Or are they going to move Philip Daniels down to right guard like some people have opined?
Yeah.
You like that word, opine?
I love that.
And move somebody off the pine to that spot, to the right tackle spot. Where are they going to go in that regard? Because, dude, if you don't get the platform ready, I don't care who's diving off of it. It's going to be shaky.
It's a non-starter. If you're soft or if you're vulnerable up front, it's a non-starter offensively. Because
correct.
It affects everything else after that.
Yeah.
I tend to believe. Look, Ian Moore. I say arguably, but I don't think it was really that much to argue. He was the best offensive lineman on the field for Ohio State at any point during that Miami game, during that Cotton Bowl. So I think Ian Moore has to be on the field for Ohio State this year, which would suggest maybe moving Philip Daniels down to guard. So I'm interested in seeing that as well. I guess that's my.
So, but do you put Ian Moore at left tackle or right tackle?
I think you would
move Austin Cedarville to right tackle.
I think you would keep Austin. I think Austin showed plenty as a left tackle that you would keep him there and put Ian at right tackle. I'm fine either way with that. If they feel like Ian Moore is your better left tackle, then great, go for it. But I think Ian Moore has to be on the field for him from what we saw in that Cotton Bowl. Again, that's just my projection, but I am interested in seeing that as well because that would mean Philip Daniels moves down to guard, and they've got to figure out that guard spot. So that seems like a natural.
Yeah. Of course, Cedarville went out of the Miami game, which was tough to see.
Right.
And and then Van Sickle, deer in the headlights
just
a little bit.
Ready for the moment,
Yeah. So. Dude, they attacked you. That's what it is.
Right.
And see, it affects everything else. It affects Philip Daniels when that's going on.
Yeah.
And then of course you had Reuben Bain lining up almost on the sideline to pass rush.
Right.
That was crazy.
Yeah. I do want to throw in real quick, just for anybody who's going to take issue with going back to the tight end thing and having the tight ends on the field. I did not agree with how much, how heavy Ohio State used, tight end packages either.
I thought that came out in your,
did it? Okay.
Well, in your disdain.
I just wanted to, taking those receivers off the field and putting tight ends on the field. I generally don't agree with that either, but also
my favorite play was down in the red zone though, when they threw the little slant. When they threw the slant, but they kept Jeremiah Smith on the field,
right,
and threw the slant to him for that touchdown,
which is,
what
a concept,
yeah. But it was. They're listening, or they're watching, or they're perusing like we are.
Sure, yeah.
But you think something's going to work, and for a while it did work.
But that's the thing. You get
caught
away
up with it.
You get away with it, but obviously at the end of the year, those are some different beasts than what you maybe were able to do against Illinois or teams like that. So
exactly. So anyway, defensively, curious about who's going to be at that safety position, vacated by Caleb Downs. What's your take on that? I know you've studied and stuff, but I like, can Jalen McClain play that spot?
Yeah.
Dude, he came on last year. Big time.
I had a really good conversation with Matt Guerrieri last night. And just certainly wanted to kind of pick his brain about what changes when Caleb Downs isn't there anymore, because we heard so much about Caleb Downs, the coach on the field, and how smart he was and how that impacted other guys in the room as well. So I'm curious, I was curious what that, what kind of impact that has when he's not there anymore.
You could tell us what he said, but then you'd have to kill me, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So while I won't share the specifics of that,
know what to look for.
I definitely walked away from it feeling very confident in what we're about to see out of Jalen McClain.
But you personally, who do you think kind of fits that bill? I think the safety, the kid from Florida. I like him. I should have the roster up in front of me.
Yeah,
but
same.
I like him a lot just based on, I've gone back and watched video on a bunch of these guys, because you never know what you're getting out of the portal, whether they're, but I mean, there's a guy that played at Florida, not at Florida A&M or International or Florida Atlantic.
Florida Atlantic, right.
So he's used to like big time competition.
Sure.
I'm going to look his name up here in a minute when you're talking, but the bottom line is I like that, that guy. I like the guy from Duke.
Mm-hmm.
But they're in the market for that nickelback kind of fellow.
You're talking about Earl Little from Florida,
Florida
State.
Yeah, Florida State. What did I say? Florida? Yeah. Running backs from Florida.
Yeah. I think he's probably more of a nickel, though. I think we see him more in the nickel position.
I know. People keep saying it, but there's. I want to see him on the hoof.
Yeah. No. Well, I mean, we're gonna find this. We're gonna see this stuff in the spring, and certainly they're gonna move these guys around.
He's a guy who's experienced. Is my point. Is they're putting a guy out on the field who's played.
Well, take injuries, off the, there were some of these injury concerns, but in terms of experience and what they brought in, there's a ton of experience in that room. So that, and not just experience, but even for, a guy who played at Duke, played against some, really good competition. Like that's not a question. But I think it starts with Jalen McClain. Like if you tell me what I saw from Jalen McClain last year, being able to learn under Caleb Downs, if there's any kind of leap forward from that, now you're talking about a really good, all Big Ten, first team all Big Ten potential, all American kind of safety talent. So if there's any kind of jump there whatsoever, like that it starts with Jalen McClain there. That's a really good spot to be in at the back end of your defense.
Right. But he could move up. I mean, he could be Caleb Downs. I mean, you know what I mean?
Sure.
I mean, that's the point.
Right.
But what is Caleb Downs? I mean, or Matt Patricia, are you going to have to redefine some of the roles you defined a year ago? Because Caleb Downs could be your deep safety, which he was on occasion, and he could be your third linebacker, which he was on occasion. He can be that guy that just stands in the middle about right behind the umpire and goes, all right, that's where the play's going. I shall join it.
One of my favorite conversations, of the many conversations last night, was with Matt Patricia.
Yeah.
And I asked that same question that you just brought up. What changes defensively? Do you have to draw things back, or maybe drawing its back is not the right way to put it, but what changes with how you approach this defense if you don't have a Caleb Downs back?
Well, generally, what was the gist of the conversation?
He said drawing back isn't the best way to put it, but certainly they're going to have to tinker with some things and figure out who's capable of what before they can figure out as a whole defense how they want to do things. So there's going to be a lot of, tinkering this spring and seeing what guys are comfortable and can handle and shoulder different things. And then from there, they'll kind of build out okay, we've got this guy that can do this, and then go from there.
Yeah. For example, when you lose Arvell Reese and Sonny Styles, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, this just in, Sonny Styles had a hell of a combine.
How about Lorenzo Styles?
I wonder if they're adjusting. Yeah, I know. And I tweeted the other day, are they going to adjust? Did the pro scouts have him at 4.15? Right. You know what I mean?
Very true.
And just like Sonny, did he really vertical leap 12 feet 8 inches?
Right. For all those people who wondered why Lorenzo Styles was returning kicks for Ohio State, that straight line speed, that's why he was returning kicks for Ohio State.
You know what's really funny? I got to admit one thing, because you don't get to hang out like in the good old days when I used to be at practice was open.
Yeah.
And I was there all the time.
What a time! I missed that.
Yeah, that was a long time. I was you could almost go back to the last century on that, but pretty close after that, because Jim Trussell opened practice. He intended to have practice open most of the time until the internet came along about the same time he did in terms of popularity. And somebody went to the practice and in the media and wrote down all the formations he saw Ohio State in offensively and many of the plays they ran from them.
Oh, you're kidding me.
And that was the end of open practices.
Yeah, you don't say. Rightfully so. I take issue with a lot of these protocols that these teams go through, and the lack of access. But when things like that happen, that's exactly
why. Of course, that's why. And then, dude, it used to be me and Moose Spahn, Paul Spahn, and Dom. Mm-hmm. We'd be at practice. We'd be the only 3 media guys at practice, and we'd spend half the practice throwing the football on the sideline. And
now there's 50 plus people.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And everybody's tweeting, everybody's doing everything. Everybody sneak tweets, when you're not, just nobody I understand, our jobs, believe me, but I also understand why people get paranoid about you being there. Sure. I mean, right now, there's all kinds of probably crap going on that was kind of like the Connor Stallions thing, kind of pull the covers back on really what could be going on out there from a skullduggery concept of hidden microphones or breaking into people's, or what's it called? Hacking into people's computers, or hacking into camera systems, or planting things. I mean,
sometimes
the desire to win is off the chart anymore.
Yeah. Sometimes it'd be your own people too, like long snappers giving practice footage to other people on the beat.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, so, yeah. I mean, that'll get you whacked. I remember I remember when that came out. I can tell this now. Something had happened, and the player involved, I won't name his name, I said, I just tweeted, man, I really like this guy's family or whatever, because I'd gotten to know his family real well. And Brian Hartline just sent me a cryptic message. He goes, if you knew what just happened, you would have never written that tweet.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And then I immediately within 8 minutes, I knew what had happened.
Yeah, well, sure.
Because that had never crossed my mind, right. And I won't get into the other guy involved.
Yeah, let's not.
He's got his own problems right now.
Big time.
Self-induced. But yeah, crazy. But that's the point. Anybody with a computer, and you have to keep stuff on a computer anymore. Any kind of organization does. Yeah. You have to have some type of access to the outside world via your computers for all kinds of reasons. And so that it just opens you up to anybody. But then on top of that, maybe some of the other stuff that goes on, and we don't even know about, about skunking practices, things like that. So we're in a brave new world. So that's why the Ohio State approach and most of the other top teams' approach is still the most valid one, which is recruit the best sons of guns you can find.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
You can know what this team is running and it not matter.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And
that's always a good approach.
Yeah. And that's the approach. Obviously, you've heard Ryan, they say it a million times about the run game.
Yeah.
Okay, we line up this way. They know we're going to run one of 3 plays or something. Run it.
Just run it
right down their damn throat.
Execute it. And
because nothing breaks a team's back, a defense's back, more when it knows what's coming and can't stop it. And so Arthur Smith, one of the things they want, remember, he was at Tennessee Titans with Vrabel. With Vrabel when they had Derrick Henry, and they understand. He understands power football in whatever form you want to put it. So they're going to attack that aspect of it. How much you can do it in the spring remains to be seen, because your top 2 backs aren't even going to be there and things. But you can create that feel, that je ne sais quoi about your offense. We're going to line up and we're going to manhandle people. You know what I mean? The best of teams sometimes don't like to be manhandled. The best of defensive lines, the best defensive linemen sometimes, who are really, when you look at a defensive lineman, you mainly, what sways most people is, wow, man, how many sacks did he have? How many pressures did he have? A lot of those guys don't like to be run at.
No.
That's why you got to have the toughest guy they're replacing on this entire football team from last year is Caden McDonald.
Easily without,
because those guys don't come along very often.
Caleb's probably right there with that, just because of how special he was to the rest.
No, but I'm talking about the guy, the A-gap dude, which you can't duplicate with. I mean, you can be strong in your mind, and I'm going to play like Caden, but then Caden weighed 320 pounds and had really good feet and got better and better as his tenure at Ohio State went along, until last year he was the best defensive tackle in the country. A-gap dude, you understand about A-gap?
Yeah.
Right there in between the guards and the center, and sometimes right on top of the center. Those guys are more rare. There we go. Not rarer. More. I'm raring to go.
Yeah.
Those guys are more rare than big time quarterbacks.
I agree. Well, and the funny thing about K-Mac is 2 years ago, coming off that national title, for everything Ohio State was about to lose, I told people, like, maybe the biggest loss of all of them was going to be Tyleik Williams. Like, how you replace that guy because of how just pivotal he was to that defense. And he doesn't get all the love. And little did we know, not to say little did we know, because we all thought that Caden McDonald was going to be a really good player, but we didn't know if Caden McDonald would be phically ready to take a bigger role on and be able to play 40 snaps as opposed to 20.
And boy, did he get him. He got his act together.
Yeah, and he certainly was. So to go from
I mean physically he got his act together. He went on that great diet, and he was more he was more muscle than he was fat last year.
That was the only question was he gonna be physically ready to do it?
And everybody saw his presence on those goal line stands, those famous goal line stands
at Penn State. That the play he made on third down in that Penn State game. You talk about demoralizing. To have that stand, and then that offensive line went on that drive to put that game away in Happy Valley that year. Yeah, that's the good stuff right there. That's the good stuff.
That's football.
So, yes.
Throwing the ball 7-on-7 ain't football.
No.
That's where your football teams are made. That's why what we started talking about, was the offensive line, and stuff.
Is that what we started talking about?
No, you named Legend Bay.
That's right. We did.
And then I named who did I name? I named
was that before or after?
I think I named who did I name? It doesn't matter now.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, because dead air is worse than.
Let's talk more about my Boston sports fandom.
No, although I just don't get it. I still don't.
I don't understand what you don't get. Like we're gonna have to have like an off.
Y'all could have saved so much more money if you become a Detroit or a Cleveland or a Chicago, because it's not like the Bruins were winning every Stanley Cup either.
No, I mean, I don't know. I mean, there was also like venues.
Like, the Red Wings are pretty good. Were a pretty good organization way back then.
But it's also like Fenway was Fenway. So
yeah, I know. But golly, I digress.
Yeah,
you never saw Tiger Stadium.
No.
Yeah. I covered some games up there when I used to have to cover the Indians.
Seeing that right field
during the summer, home games and stuff, and some away games.
Grew up playing video games, and like the baseball. The games would have like old stadiums you could play in, and and playing and seeing that right field and playing that
porch.
Right field. I would have loved to have seen that in person. Now I've heard
it was cool.
Like old Municipal Stadium in Cleveland. I've heard how much of a dump that place was.
It was. But, I had to cover, I said.
Yeah.
I mean, do not wax eloquently about covering the Indians back in the 80s when I had to cover the Indians games. Sure. I mean, everything about that stadium was built on a dump. Yeah. So that was apropos. Like I said, if Jim Brown and Bob Feller hadn't played there, nobody would have given a damn. Right, they wouldn't be waxing poetically about what a great place it was, because it wasn't. It wasn't good for football or baseball. It was huge too, man. It was huge.
Well, yeah, it was just expansive. Like they're just like
I think they originally built it thinking they were going to get the Olympics.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Or they made some kind of bid or something like that.
Who the hell told them that they were going to get the Olympics in
Cleveland? I don't know. But, you had to have a stadium that could host different things and stuff. And when the football field ran basically that old classic home plate to center field, it didn't run down the sidelines or anything, or the left field line or right field line, but it was cool back at 80 when the Browns were making that run before the mistake on the lake. Red Right 88 or whatever you call it, where Brian Sipe threw the interception.
Red Right 88 is what it was, right?
Yeah, but they didn't run. I don't get that, because they didn't run 88 routes. I mean, he was anticipating a crossing route. I'm standing on the field. It's like minus 51 wind chill factor that day, because you had to leave the press box.
Yeah.
So you could go to the locker room and stuff. And I don't know how they even played that game. But anyway, I'll digress real quickly. So. The number one thing we already talked about who you're going to watch and all this kind of stuff. I want to ask you one more thing about football.
Sure.
What is your take on whether we just talked about replacing Caden McDonald. Caden McDonald actually replaced Ty Hamilton and Tyleik Williams when you think about it.
Yeah.
Because he was a presence and he could get upfield. So Edric Houston is the guy I'm very curious about.
Yeah.
John Walker and James Smith. I think Larry Johnson likes both those guys, the two transfers.
Yeah.
On the defense. That is where they needed some more bodies. And they got them. Everybody can talk about who they didn't get offensive line wise, but they didn't get anybody.
Sure.
They've been down that road before. If a guy isn't up to snuff, why go get him just for a body? Right. So my question to you is, before we move on, how tough is it going to be to replace Arvell Reese and Sonny Styles? Like I asked you a while ago before we went off on a bender.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think
a Bill Bender.
Sure. I think the versatility and their athleticism makes it, immensely difficult to replace them, because those guys just don't come around very often.
Right.
And certainly, Arvell.
And they both grew into their into their positions, into themselves.
Exactly.
They weren't the same a year ago, or definitely the year before that.
We were just scratching the surface of seeing Sonny Styles a linebacker. It's just not something that he didn't come to. He didn't come to Ohio State to play linebacker.
And they didn't even know what Arvell Reese could do.
They were still trying to figure out how to get him on the field and utilize his talents. And to their credit, well, I don't know, they kind of seemed like whether it was, I don't know, so there was regression with Arbel Reese towards the end of the year for whatever reason. But, with Sonny, they were just starting to scratch the surface of what he was able to do as a linebacker. And it's a shame that it came to an end so soon. And then Arbel with his, his athleticism and his versatility as well. You just don't replace those guys. So how difficult is it? I don't know if those two guys exist on the roster right now. I will say that I'm like just so excited to see Riley Pettijohn.
Me too, man.
What he's going to become.
I like him a lot.
So, and he got his feet wet as a special teamer this year. So I'm really excited to see that. I have all the faith in the world in James Laurinaitis and what he'll do with that room. I think that was just a home run move by Ryan Day to get him to come back to Columbus. And you're continuing to see it year after year pay dividends with his recruiting and certainly what, just being an on the field coach as well. So I have all the faith in the world in that room. But to say there's going to be a seamless transition from Sonny Styles and Arbel Reese, two guys that are about to be top 10 draft picks, top 15 at least. In Sonny's case, he might have moved into being a top 5 or 6 draft pick.
Yeah.
You just don't replace those guys. So there's going to be some drop off naturally, just in the same way that we were talking about Jalen McClain and whatever he does or doesn't do. He won't be Caleb Downs. It's not fair to ask him to be Caleb Downs.
Yeah.
So there's going to be regression. But I still have all the faith in the world in Ohio State's linebacker room, and it's certainly with the talent it's going to be there. I think Riley Pettijohn's a future star, so I'm not worried about that so much. But there will be. Hey,
Peyton Pierce and Riley Pettijohn, Pettijohn and Pierce, the Texas two-step.
Right. Yeah, and
when it comes to linebackers,
exactly, and obviously like TJ Alford was a very big recruit as well.
Right?
With Riley in that class.
Yeah, Sincere Johnson.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well,
very cute. Yeah,
everybody looks at Sincere and says like, "Hey, that's Arbel Reese," So and again, that's not fair to put on Sincere. But if you look at him, obviously there's the Glenville ties, and you look at their frames and say like, "Well, shoot, like this is exactly what
the
Arbel
pipeline, man. That Glenville pipeline is pumping it out again.
So that talent, and James Laurinaitis factor, like of course they're going to be fine.
Yeah,
but it just underscores what Ohio State had last year defensively.
Oh yeah,
to have these guys and say like, well, they can't be that.
Yeah,
how could they be that?
Yeah,
that's how good they were last year.
Yeah, and who's this Matt Patricia guy? I mean, golly,
right?
Nobody in Detroit liked him. Blah blah blah. Couldn't get a job in the NFL for whatever reason. He ended up doing all right.
My conversation with Matt Patricia last night, I already felt this way, even going into yesterday and before talking to him. It's the first time I ever got a chance to talk to him, of course, like one-on-one directly.
Yeah.
I don't know. And maybe things have changed. Maybe that year off from football did him, like wonders. Obviously, I didn't know him before that. I don't know how anybody could dislike this guy. Like
me neither, man.
I think the world of Matt Patricia is just like as a dude, as a human being. Like it was a genuinely awesome conversation talking to him. And I don't understand how people don't like him. Now, again, I don't know what he was like 5 years ago, 10 years ago, but I like him. The Matt Patricia that I got to talk to last night seemed like just a genuinely great person. So.
I like him a lot. He's a thinker. As I told him, I'd like you even if you weren't a football coach,
right?
Because he's a big aviation buff like I am. Yep. His favorite plane is the A-10 Warthog.
Yeah,
just like me.
Really?
Yeah, because
that Bert.
Yeah,
I can't roll my R's, but yeah, there you go. That's probably the best Warthog impersonation I've ever heard.
But just an airplane built around a gun. I mean, crazy.
Yeah.
And they've, many times they've tried to kill it. I think they've killed it again, but I saw they're using it in Iran or Iran. I think when you see it, Iran is what you do. But if you're the bad guys or the enemy, doesn't necessarily mean you're a bad guy.
No, you're on the wrong side of that.
Yeah. On the other side, they're thinking, who's that guy in the A-10 Warthog? Who's that bad guy in the A-10 Warthog?
There's some great video.
Or bad gal.
Great video on YouTube of A-10s actually in combat footage.
Never been a close support airplane before since the Douglas Sky Raider. They use a lot in Vietnam, but this is a heavily armored and then built around one gun, but can also shoot rockets at you. Just a beautiful airplane. There's no question about what it was built for. It wasn't built for the Army and the Navy and the Air Force. It was built close support for troops. The troops love the hell out of it because it can put 6,000 rounds a minute on a spot. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. I would interrupt. Speaking of,
but anyway, he loves that. And he also can play trumpet like I can, or I used to be able to.
I actually had no idea you could play trumpet.
Yeah.
So I still learn new things about you, which is great. You keep me on my toes. We were talking to Arthur Smith. You talked about your conversation with Arthur Smith. There are about 4 or 5 of us sitting there talking to him. Our first chance to talk to him as well. Apparently, he's a big history guy as well. So if you ever get a chance to talk to him, apparently he's a big fan of the Civil War period. So had a good little conversation there.
You know what I like most about him?
What's that?
His dad,
Yeah.
FedEx.
Yeah. Kind of a big deal.
So, kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
Except Arthur went his own way.
He did his own thing.
Yeah. Now, it's good to be for money, whatever.
It helps. Yeah. There's advantages of that.
He could have been a million things.
Right.
That's what you like. This guy lives football.
You want to be a football coach.
Yeah.
And you're right. Money helps, open some doors. But at the end of the day, if you can't coach football, you can't coach football. Nobody's going to keep you around.
Correct.
Your dad's the
correct.
FedEx. So
maybe in Little League.
Well, that's true.
If you're buying the uniforms for the team or something.
Very true.
But no, I mean, it's like, that's what I like about him the most. He loves it and lives it. And I think he's talented. So anyway, real quick before we get out of here.
Sure.
I didn't mean to keep you this long.
Oh,
Actually, I did mean to keep you for an hour.
Tim, we could have this conversation without a headphone and microphone, and we'd do it for hours, and I'd enjoy it. So
I know what gets in the way when we're playing golf, because we're usually in the same cart,
is true,
looking for my ball.
Yeah, well, same or me
disrupts all kinds of conversations.
Me being ahead of my butt for.
By the way, I've got I got a new rangefinders you found out the other day, and because I had one I left in a cart.
I'm tired of always having to give you your dang distance.
I know, but I bought this other one, and it was a proximity one of those kind you carry. I didn't like it, and I got a hell of a deal at Dick's Sporting Goods.
Is that a promo? Do they sponsor this show?
No, okay. but this
maybe they will.
I was stunned by how good this new one is, and it's one of the cheapest ones they got. I go,
you don't need anything fancy for those things.
No, but my wife, God bless my wife, man. She gave me my first viewfinder, my first rangefinder, just as a birthday gift.
Yeah, right.
My wife. She's never been on a golf course, I don't think.
Right.
I go, she does pay attention to me.
Well, that is cool, yeah.
Every now and then.
My wife knows. She won't even attempt to buy me something golf related because she
well, I wouldn't think my wife would either.
Yeah, right.
But golly.
Good for her.
Yeah, because there used to be, I'd just go try to find the nearest sprinkler and it didn't have the distance on there.
Right,
so
look for the 150 markers.
The 150 and then estimate, but it didn't matter anyway, because if I was hitting my 7-iron, he was either going 155 or 120.
Right. Yeah. We spend so much time trying to find this exact distance to the yard as if we're going to be able to hit that number on a regular basis.
Yeah. Now, how many people do you think have tuned out? So we started talking golf.
I don't know.
By the way, I'm fired up. IndyCar season started last week. Really enjoyed watching Alex Palou pick up where he left off, dominating. It's interesting how good that guy is because everybody has the same shot in IndyCar. Yeah. It's not like Formula One where you build your own car. Bunch of teams use the same engines in Formula One, but now Formula One's kicking off in Australia. Found out I got to have Apple TV, which I've never had, to be able to tune into Formula One now in the United States.
Don't you just love it? Haven't had a different streaming package.
I do not mind paying for something that I'm going to use.
I agree, but
just like Peacock.
Yeah.
I've had Peacock for a while,
right?
And I keep reminding people, all these people that go, about that's what they sound like. You don't understand, ladies and gentlemen. If you've got ESPN, you're paying for it every month.
Yeah, exactly.
They think it's just comes out of the air.
Yeah, right.
You've been paying. They've got you so
built into that
couched
package.
now. For like what it started in like the early '80s, 79 or 80 or 81. You're paying for ESPN every month too, and a pretty good chunk. So I don't have any sympathy for you whatsoever. No. Do your homework on your bill.
Now,
but
if we did a bingo card for sports and talked about in this show, do you think somebody would have won by now? We've talked about everything.
You went ad nauseum about Boston athletics.
Yeah, I was being interrogated about that as a matter of fact.
But anyway, real quick before we go, Ohio State men's team basketball.
Some good
JJ Sullinger sat right over there, and he thinks they're going to take 2 trips. They're going to he thinks they're already in the NCAA. We recorded that before they played at Penn State the other night.
They're going second weekend.
Now, Penn State was like playing your backup walk-on team.
That's a bad basketball team.
That was a bad basketball team the other night with nobody there in the stands. Sure. So it was probably like being at practice for Ohio State.
Right, yeah.
Scrimmaging. They play Indiana. It's going to be bobblehead afternoon.
First 2,000, so you better get there early. Why you only do 2,000 of this?
Dude, you're going to get 10,000 people in there minimum. Well, more than that. They may have a packed house.
I might buy a ticket just so I can get the bobblehead.
Yeah,
I might, because I can probably get a ticket for $15. I might say, I'll pay $15.
Yeah, but my point is, 2,000.
Yeah, right.
Those I mean, and some little kid's going to be crying, and 2001 is going to be crying.
Yeah, and of those 2,000, probably 700 are going to be on eBay by the end of the night for $60, maybe more. I don't know.
Yeah, that was a little bit of a misfigure.
Yeah.
Or what's that, assumption? Is that the right word? Miscalculation on Ohio State's part, I do believe. But he thinks, J.J. Sullinger thinks they're already in. Now, having beaten Penn State, they're 19. They got 19 wins. They've got a secured winning record in the regular season in the Big Ten. That matters, right?
Sure,
you might end up with 10 teams in the big dance.
It certainly does.
That matters. They're going to play at least one game in the Big Ten tournament. We'll see how that goes. A lot of that will be settled on Saturday on if they beat Indiana. Boy, Indiana, all of a sudden, they had a must-win the other night against Minnesota, and they trounced them. But my point is, I see Ohio State already in the NCAA tournament in some form or fashion. What's your take?
I think without a question, I think right now they're in. If they beat Indiana on Saturday, there's no question about it, regardless of what happens in the Big Ten tournament. If they were to lose this game on Saturday, tomorrow, I don't know. If they were to lose that game, then just don't lose that first game in the Big Ten tournament, because that first game in the Big Ten tournament is going to be against one of the worst teams in the conference. So just don't lose that game. But I mean, go win against Indiana, and they're absolutely, and I think they're already in now as it is. But I guess if they were to lose this game against Indiana, just don't go lose the first game of the Big Ten title.
Somebody brought this up with me last night. It might have been Patrick Murphy when we were doing the Buckeyes show, but they're better off. I don't think they can get to a 7 seed in the NCAA tournament. They're better off being a 10 or an 11.
Sure.
Because if you're 8 or 9,
then you
might be gone the second day in the tournament. Right? Because you'll be playing the number 1 seed. Isn't that right? Yeah, that's where the bracket's set up.
Yeah.
So where do you fall on that? I mean, because you know what? The top 4 in the country right now
are
about as good as it's been.
And there's a gap there. I think I've been saying this for a month now, that I think if Ohio State's biggest obstacle is getting to the tournament, because if they can just get there, they are set up to win multiple games in that tournament. Not that it always plays out this way, but guard play tends to elevate, teams come March. In Ohio State's guard situation, if Junie Mobley is going to shoot the way that he's, shooting as of late, and obviously Bruce being Bruce, like that's a really good backcourt. That can go win you, a game or two. I think, I agree with you about you want to avoid the 8 or 9, so you might as well just be a 10. But in terms of the way the season's gone, just Ohio State avoiding the play-in is a win, no matter what happens after that. Just not having to play
that's the first round.
Well, excuse me, the first round.
Do they even call it the first round anymore? I
can't even remember anymore. Regardless, as long as they're not playing in Dayton, that's a
first
win.
4.
You're in the tournament and not playing in the first 4, that's a major win. Whatever the seeding is after that, and I truly believe that Ohio State can win multiple games in that tournament and get to the second week.
I tell you what, man, I do too. Only because, and I think it's what I've seen the last couple of weeks, but especially the last week. Amari Bynum, the way he is, like I was telling J.J. Sullinger that he's not the same guy he was 2 months ago. It's amazing, this freshman, how he's just matured. He's matured physically. He's gotten bigger, it looks like. And then Devin Royal, if he can just get rid of that 1 or 2 gaffes he has at the end of games, GAFFE, but boy, he's playing extremely well. They could put a 5 out there that can play, because Tilly's always been my linchpin, because once you advance 1 round, your big guy's got to play.
Sure.
And
he's been a wild card.
Be a presence.
He's a wild card for this.
I think he's really
for that team, because
the last couple of weeks.
The last few games, one of my, I guess, who am I, but one of my biggest criticisms of Tilly is like he plays so much smaller than he is. Like he chooses to play smaller than he is. And over the last few games, his aggressiveness in trying to get to the rim and use his size to finish at the rim, whether he finishes or he picks up contact and draws a foul, that aggressiveness, it's got to be the way he plays. He's got to play like the 7-footer he is, as opposed to playing below the rim so often like he chooses to do. That's a wild card for this team.
I agree.
So, and again, we're talking about the stuff on top of the guard play, and you're right about Amari Bynum. Like Amari Bynum's athleticism, and like he's starting to slow down, which is such like a cliche thing to say, but early on, Amari Bynum, he would just be running out there like a chicken with his head cut off. He was a high effort guy. So you love to see it as a freshman. You're not going to coach that out of him. But sometimes he was almost too overzealous. So, and now the game's starting to slow down for him. And then with that athleticism, I tell you what, the moment that if Amari Bynum can become a consistent or somewhat consistent outside shooter, man, that kid's got NBA.
Another guy that's really come on, Chapman.
Yeah.
I mean, as I say, the Artis Gilmore lookalike contest winner, except he's a foot shorter maybe than Artis Gilmore back in the ABA days. But just his hair, I love his hair, et cetera. But has played extremely well. They've gotten some things out of White, which I think is interesting.
Yeah.
Only except, as I was telling my wife, she was watching the game with me the other night, which is a rare occurrence. I say he just jumps too much.
Yeah.
He's always off his feet. He gets these stupid fouls. But there's a guy that can give you some physical presence out there. And the guy whose name I can't ever pronounce, number 7.
Nigovin.
Yeah. Was it
Nigovin?
Yvonne.
Or as apparently I don't know how broadcast team after broadcast team can like routinely not have his name right. Yegoban's been the prevailing thing that they've said on broadcast.
Yeah.
Anymore, I'm just calling him Yegoban because that's what everybody else is calling him. But it's
like a Mekek Buka, remember?
Yeah, right, exactly. But it's Ivan Yegovin, the way I understand it. So, but yeah.
How about that, man? We heard Mekek Buka butchered.
Going to pro, just we're getting off on a tangent, but going to like opposing like to road games and hearing their press box announcers trying to pronounce his name was just always a treat. So
see, I was always of the impression, because this is as little homework as I do. I would look at names.
It would drive me crazy. How would you?
But I would look at names beforehand before I make a fool of myself.
Doing this show, I would not come in here, and if I was going to talk about somebody, not know how to pronounce his name.
But that's why I've deferred to you on number 7, because I've never heard his name said the same way. I don't think 3 times.
I get it. Yeah.
So, but man, just a little bit if they can get out of him from a big man standpoint. This team is really interesting. And, it's like Pat Murphy was talking about the other night. He goes, Diebler said this 2 months ago or a month and a half ago. If they ever get whole, he didn't use the word I use is WHOLE. If they ever get whole physically, they're a pretty damn good basketball team. Devin Royal is a pretty damn good player.
Devin.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. Like depth's going to continue to be an issue for this team. This team does not have depth.
Right.
Guys like Gabe Cupps and Colin White, like they're effort guys. They're going to hustle, but they give you nothing.
But if they can get in there, just like the Kohler guy that comes up, that plays for, they had him just foul out on purpose against Ohio State a couple of weeks ago because let him get in there and beat on people.
Yeah, there's a purpose. There's depth's just not going to be a thing. So they can't afford any more injuries, which and sicknesses and these things that have held this team back for a little while now.
Right.
And they certainly can't afford any foul trouble in these games. But for what it is, their starting 5 against whoever they match up with in the tournament, they're gonna have a chance to win those games.
Yeah,
because
that was like Tilly the other night when he made that little move under the basket and hit that wet spot.
Yeah.
The last guy they need
is for him
limping out it, and that was malfeasance on the part of the mop guy.
Yeah,
under the basket at Penn State, because he was probably like the other Penn State fans. He probably wasn't even paying attention.
Did they even have a mop guy? Did the mop guy even show up to that game? Nobody else did. So.
I don't know. Yeah. Maybe he was running both ends,
Right,
volunteer mop guy. But I digress. And by the way, the Ohio State women can make a run.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, they might be playing as you're watching this right now or listening to it on your favorite device, wherever you find our podcast. But, they had a little bit of a swoon near the end of the year, but they've got the wherewithal, man. They've got some players.
Well, and when you have the best player,
I'm talking about in the Big Ten tournament, ladies and gentlemen.
When you have the best player on the floor at any given time, which Ohio State might have more often than not, then that gives you a chance in most games anyways.
Amen. So, Amen to Dillon Davis. Dillon, thank you for joining me again, my friend.
Always enjoy.
We're going to do this more often, aren't we?
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so. I was talking to Clay last night and I told him, anytime, I'm happy to do it. So
Clay wants to branch out and do other things, meaning other than media.
Okay.
In his life.
Yeah.
The good thing
That's
is
what retirement means.
He was a starter. Yeah, he was a starter at the Ridge Golf and Gardens last year, and I'm hoping that evolves into him being that again, and also into a what do you call it, a deep discount situation for you and I.
Hook a brother up.
Yeah, hook him. Yeah.
So I'm not above.
Absolutely hook a brother up.
I'm not above giving the starter, a little bit of crap either. So
me neither. Me neither. Especially if he kind of comes out to get us play faster.
Right.
Hey, go do your job. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, enjoyed being here with Dillon Davis. Yep. And until next time, this is Tim May for the Tim May Show, featuring Clay Hall, but occasionally Dillon Davis, occasionally Jeff Snook, occasionally Matt Wilhelm. I'm going to get Matt Wilhelm to give me an assessment. He's got inside knowledge now.
Yeah,
with
right.
Mason
when
Wilhelm
Mason gets here, yeah. Mason. Is Mason an early enrollee? Is he here for? Okay, so he's.
Matter of fact, his dad escorted him down. We talked about that. About just new place, new faces, new places, and he can't give away all the secrets, but he can give you a little bit of an insight now that he didn't even have a year ago about what's going on, and good for him. But he's part of that offensive line room now. Mason is, and I know Matt's keen on seeing how that develops and seeing how his own son develops. So, but until next time, for Dillon Davis, this is Tim May. We'll see you then. In recording.
Shh. By the way, Clay has left the room. I wanted to let you folks in on a real bargain out there in the world of simulator golf. The Back Nine Golf, which is located at 2820 Fishinger Road in Upper Arlington, has a hell of a holiday box available to you right now. The value is nearly $300, but your price is $150 if you jump online. That's almost 50% off if you jump online at Columbus at theback9golf.com. That's their email address. Their website is theback9golf.com/Columbus-upper-Arlington-OH/ That's a long address, but just write it down a couple times watching it. And you can also call them at 614-362-7888. Parentheses PUTT, PUTT. But the bottom line is one of the new ultra modern simulators that you can find in the greater Columbus area, and it's really right there in the middle of Upper Arlington. I know Tito Thidoff and I hopped in there the other day. I think it was 16 degrees outside. There was snow and ice everywhere, and we played Pebble Beach, and we did it in less than an hour. So it's one of the great bargains going out there. And with this holiday box, you get 1 month of Birdie membership. You get Back Nine branded golf balls. You get cozy Back Nine beanie, and you get premium Back Nine towel. So that's a hell of a deal, because basically it's unlimited golf. It's 24/7. You get a code to get you in the door, and then you can go from there. And it's definitely fun. It's the premises are pristine. I know we had a great time. We even played closest to the hole, a few shots on number 7, famed number 7 short par 3 at Pebble Beach the other day, and had a great time doing it. So if you're looking for that last minute gift for a golfer that you love, or yourself that you love, that you're a golfer, nothing wrong with giving yourself a gift at this time of the year. That's the Back Nine Golf holiday box, and it's only a limited time, and as you can imagine, there are only a few available. Quantities are tight, so check in at theback9golf.com.